to heal, support the poor. Task done, a moment to relax. Mission supported by parallax. Successful gathering of charity. Only it's slated for parity. Parity, not charity.
The intricate ways that deity influenced events and brought Sebastiani's influence to the forefront of human affairs at just the right time will never be truly understood. What can be recorded and what is known defies description, logic, or understanding, and it is safe to say that the actual reach of deity to influence those events is incomprehensible. The impact of the project, second edition. Bo finished allocating the donated funds to shelters across half a dozen major cities. He paused at Thaddeus's Causeway. The one inexplicable aspect of his job over the last 6 years was how the company focused its financial emphasis on some charities while ignoring others. He shrugged and clicked his mouse, ensuring the funds transferred to Cailey. Perhaps next cycle he'd suggest the Causeway. He closed the laptop, stretched, and headed out for a walk around the building. He was in the passage, the 5th-floor walkover that connected the two high-rise buildings, when William, the executive in charge of charitable giving, walked toward him, accompanied by a middle-aged couple.
"Good afternoon, William,"
he said.
"Beauregard, I was just on my way to see you."
William's smile spread wide and satisfied, the kind that caught the light and held it. Every tooth showed uniformly white, almost reflective.
"What do you need me to do?"
Bo asked, relieved to be caught between tasks. William turned to the couple and said,
"Delilah, Kurfman, this is Beauregard Montmorency, my assistant, the one I was telling you about. He's the one who seeks out charitable giving opportunities. I've never met anyone as good at their job as he is. Beauregard, this is Delilah and Kurfman Cointreau. They run the Cailey Foundation."
While they shook hands, Bo was grateful that his expression had always been called inscrutable. Something about the couple unsettled him. The man was perhaps 10 years older than Bo, with the kind of good looks that felt purchased rather than innate. His wife was petite and perfectly pleasant, her smile fixed a fraction too long, her eyes giving away nothing of what lay behind them. Bo felt the disconnect immediately, the practiced warmth, the absence beneath it. Whatever they were presenting to the world was not what moved them.
"I saw that you finished the task that I set you,"
William said, clapping him on the back.
"Come with us. We're going to catch a meal at Chester's."
The next hour passed in a strange sort of blur for Bo. He focused on being attentive and congenial. William frequently lauded his devotion to duty and his ability to bring in the large donations from multiple corporations. By the end of lunch, Bo knew what he would do when he got back to his office.
"What are you working on now?"
William asked. Bo relaxed into the answer, laying out what he had finished and what was already in motion.
"I have an appointment tomorrow morning with Michael Othello. Over the last 2 weeks, I've been working with Rafferty Calleril to secure funding from his uncle. He's pledged a percentage of the income from his Northern Africa energy corporations to Cailey."
He kept his tone easy, practiced, as though this was simply the next logical step in a very full schedule.
"And Othello?"
"We're working on a giving campaign through his executive level."
He lied.
"There are a number of tax loopholes that can be exploited to make sure that his executives can focus on giving to causes they think are worthy, so Othello is considering a matching campaign."
One of Bo's least critical skills was the ability to lie convincingly. He needed to convince William that his plans for the next day would be lucrative for Cailey. The vibes he was getting from Kurfman Cointreau were increasingly those of the hyena planning on closing in for the kill. He recognized in the man sitting across from him the same skill he possessed, a sense about the motives of the people around them. Kurfman was seeing Bo as an asset better liquidated. The gleam of avarice in the eyes of all three was his reward. It was difficult to obtain even an appointment with the elusive billionaire. One where he was considering opening his wallet was even harder. A matching campaign was the ultimate prize, and once Othello decided a cause was worthy, his known largesse made Bo's lie believable. Back in his office, Bo logged into his computer automatically, leaning forward for the retina scan without even thinking. His thoughts turned inward, reviewing the last 6 years at Parallax Intrinsics. He had been conned. He had been working to put money in the pocket of a company that was not everything it seemed. His fingers moved across the keys. It did not take long to confirm what he had begun to suspect. Parallax Intrinsics and Cailey were both arms of the Parity collective. He felt a sinking sense of disgust in his gut. He wondered if Cailey knew and was part of the conspiracy of silence that surrounded Bo. For the years he applied his expertise unwittingly serving Parity. Before he could more than wonder, his watchdog app started to ping. Someone knew he was snooping. He had set off some kind of alarm. Rapidly, he powered down his computer, disconnecting it from the network. Within 5 minutes, he was leaving the building, feeling empty and aimless. He went to the train station and bought a random ticket on one of the commuter trains. He was not sure what he was going to do, but he needed time to think. For the first half an hour, he watched the passing scenery without taking anything in. When the train began to slow down for the next commuter stop, passengers in the vicinity started to prepare to disembark.
Bo,
A voice exclaimed. One of the commuters pushed through the press of individuals trying to get off the train. Bo blinked and turned toward the sound. The man was already smiling, already reaching for him.
Keen.
what is disturbing you?
Keen asked. He did not wait for an answer. His hand landed on Bo's shoulder, firm and familiar.
Come on, buddy. We will stop at my flat.
The walk to Keen's apartment from the train station was, predictably, only 5 minutes. Once they were in the apartment, Keen uncorked a bottle of wine and poured 2 glasses, handing one to Bo.
I know that you would probably prefer something stronger to drink.
Keen said, his tone gentle.
Unfortunately, this is all I have. Tell me, what is going on?
He settled into the chair across from Bo, his gaze steady and expectant. Bo recounted the events of the early afternoon, his voice a low murmur that barely disturbed the quiet of the room. When he finished, the 2 friends sat in silence, the unspoken weight of Bo's discoveries hanging between them. Finally, Keen rose.
I have somewhere I must be,
he said, his hand briefly touching Bo's shoulder.
Make yourself at home. I will be back before midnight.
Thanks, man. I'm grateful.
Glumly, Bo realized he could not return to his apartment. The look on Corman Cointro's face was indelibly etched in his memory. Corman did not believe that he, Bo, was a risk worth taking. Once Keen left, Bo used his friend's computer to do some additional research. He was not sure he would be able to use his own. He had created some of the watchdog apps that would now be used against him, and they had ways of creating digital cognizance tracers. If his app was working properly, his computer might paint a target on any map. Until he was able to set up a special dead zone that nullified wireless communication, he could not afford to power his computer on. Everything he discovered, now that he had some of the critical keywords, was nauseating in all the implications. When he turned off his friend's computer, he knew he had to make some tough choices.
Lists on paper with borrowed ink. Leave at once, don't stop to think.
He saw a notepad on his friend's desk and pulled it close. Taking one of Keen's pens, he drew a line down the center of the page. On one side he wrote, "Off the grid," and on the other, "Contact Galaxy Group." A horizontal line halfway down created pro and con sections beneath each heading. When Keen returned, they would go over the options and see what else Keen might suggest. He was still staring at the page, unsure where to begin, when the doorbell rang. Without thinking, he opened the door. Even as it swung wide, the realization hit he was being reckless. What if Parity had tracked him down? Nobody was at the door. On the doorstep sat 2 familiar neon green suitcases, the same ones he had last seen in his entryway closet. A large manila envelope was taped to the nearest case, his full name written across it in bold ink, Beauregard Excalibur Montmorency. He glanced up and down the short hallway. No one was there. After a moment, he pulled the suitcases inside, closed the door, and removed the envelope. When he opened it, several items slid out: his passport, a handful of sealed envelopes, and a single letter written on thick parchment.
Having learned from Zeke of your interest in changing employers, I am prepared to extend an invitation for you to interview for the position of personal assistant to Sebastiani Zakarian. The individual selected for this role must possess the capacity and discretion required to navigate the intricacies inherent in international relations. I am satisfied that your experience and aptitude meet this standard. Should you be willing to take a leap of faith, I believe that decision will prove rewarding. Enclosed, you will find airline tickets, travel expenses, and a detailed itinerary. If you proceed with the interview and the position is offered to you, you may expect both personal and professional fulfillment. Follow the itinerary exactly. Upon arrival in Barcelona, provide the enclosed address to a taxi driver. The envelope includes the appropriate fare and an acceptable gratuity. If the position does not move forward, return airfare will be provided. On the assumption that you will choose to pursue this opportunity, an airport shuttle will arrive at Keen's address at precisely 11:47 p.m.
He would be crazy to fly to Spain on the strength of an anonymous letter. The tickets were first class. If someone was misleading him, they had gone to considerable effort. By the time he cleared customs at the airport in Barcelona, Beau's sense of time had collapsed into something useless. It felt as though he had arrived only hours after leaving, yet he knew he had lost an entire day somewhere over the Atlantic. Once the official was finished with him, he closed his passport and tucked it into a pocket before pulling his luggage toward the curb. Dawn was just breaking, and a line of taxis waited as if for a brand new day. It was early Saturday morning when his plane had lifted out of San Francisco. Now it was just after 6 a.m. here. He resisted the temptation to ask for a hotel and gave the driver the address, recalling the instruction to follow the itinerary exactly. Nearly an hour passed before the taxi reached the address on the card. The driver stopped before an imposing security gate, and an armed guard stepped out to ask his business.
I am supposed to have a job interview with Sebastiani Zakarian.
The guard kept his hand on his sidearm the entire time he was communicating with someone via his cell phone. After a short time, he returned and asked Beau,
"You may proceed to the house if you will yield up your cell phone and consent to a search."
Beau was not going to travel all the way from San Francisco to Barcelona and turn back because of a little search.
Of course,
He said.
Do you wish me to get out here?
The guard nodded and said,
"You will be transported to the house. Your taxi may depart."
Beau climbed out, and after his suitcases were pulled out of the trunk, he presented the envelope to the taxi driver, asking if it was enough. The driver counted through it and looked at him with a large grin.
"It is more than enough. You wish change?"
No, keep the change,
He said. Once the taxi driver left, the stoic guard said,
Cell phone, camera, computer, other electronic devices.
Beau picked up his computer carrying case and handed it to the security guard.
These are all of my electronic devices.
He had opted to permanently disable his cell phone since it was issued to him by Parallax. A couple of items from one of the ubiquitous airport shops had been enough to give his cell phone what amounted to an acid bath. It would not be fast-acting, but it would be thorough. The guard took his computer bag and then looked at his luggage.
Will you object if we search all of your luggage?
No, go for it.
They would not find anything of interest. One suitcase held photographs and a few items he would have hated to lose. The other contained 3 outfits and his toiletries. A golf cart sped to a halt on the other side of the gate. The guard gestured him through a door-sized, smaller gate. Once on the other side, the person who had driven the golf cart patted him down and ran a detection wand over his body. Everything from his pockets was emptied into a zippered bag. When he was waved towards the golf cart, Beau said,
The contents of the manila envelope are critical to my meeting with Mr. Zakarian.
The guard nodded and said,
Mr. Zakarian is not within the residence at the moment. He will be here sometime soon. In the meantime, We will be searching and analyzing everything you brought with you. You will have everything but your electronics back by the time you meet with him.
Southern light, a foreign name, one way out, a different game. Task done, a moment to relax. Mission supported by parallax. Successful gathering a charity. Only is slated for parity. Parity, not charity.